Hi there, or welcome back. Today we're making this really cute and so easy macrame snowman. This is a very quick project. You can whip up a whole bunch of these guys. So let's get started. You will need a wax or synthetic cord for this in two different colors, one for his hat and then a beige color to go around the wood. I'm going to be using green for his hat just because I don't have any black. But ideally, black or dark gray or the dark brown would look great. Okay, so fold your cord in half and then place the tail end through the loop. This creates a magic ring. And then attach 5 more cords onto your ring using a lark's head knot. And just a tip, it's easier to attach your lark's head knots onto the portion of your ring that's closer to the loop as opposed to the side that has the tail ends. You'll see why in a minute. Alrighty, once you have all 5 cords on, you're going to grab the tail of your magic ring and you're going to pull it taut. This is why it was easier to attach your lark's heads closer towards the loop than the tail end. And as you're pulling, make sure it's very secure. You want to completely close in that ring. Starting with the tail end of your magic ring, I like to take the next cord next to it and then tie a square knot. To make a square knot, you make a loop with your leftmost cord, and then with your rightmost cord, you place it behind and through that loop of your left. You cinch it up to the top, and that's half of your square knot. So to do the other half, you repeat the same thing on the other side. So make a loop on your right this time, and then with your leftmost cord, place it behind and through that loop. And if you find that I'm going too fast for you, feel free to adjust the speed of this video by tapping the 3 dots on the top right corner. Or you're totally more than welcome to go check out my knot tutorial playlist. I'll link it in the cards above. Okay, so next to our first square knot, we're going to grab the next 4 cords and tie another square knot. Okay, after you finish tying your second square knot, you guessed it, we're tying a third. This completes our first round of square knots. For our second round, we're going to alternate our square knots. So to do that, you want to grab 2 cords from either side of your previous square knots and join them together with another square knot. Because we're working in rounds and not increasing, this will cause our project to turn into a cylinder shape. So make sure you're tying your square knots fairly taut so that it really forms that cylinder shape. And I did 1, 2, 3 rows in total. Next, grab your final strand of green cord and tie a loose overhand knot, leaving a little bit of a tail. This is going to be a temporary knot. The only reason why I'm tying it is so that it doesn't slip through our work, and it gives me something to pin down onto my board. Okay, so we're going to be tying a round of double half hitch knots. So grab one of the strands on your hat, and you want to loop it around your filler cord. This is half of your double half hitch knot. So repeat one more time, make a loop and then wrap it around, and that completes your second half of your double half hitch knot. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, sometimes your first double half hitch knot is kind of loose and looks less than fabulous. If that's the case, don't worry too much about it. Just carry on tying all the way around the brim of your hat. And then once you get to the very end, you can always retie your first knot. That is partially the reason why we left a little bit of a tail on our filler cord here. That's so that you can make adjustments later on. Plus, you're going to need that tail in just a second. Okay, so untie that overhand knot. And what we need that tail end for is to tie one more double half hitch knot, but using both ends of our filler cords together. And make sure you tie that super taut because next we're going to snip off all of our loose tail ends. When you snip off the loose tail ends, make sure you leave just a tiny little bit of a nub sticking out because we're going to use our lighter and melt it down. I like to use the side of my lighter to push down the melted end so that it's hidden underneath the hat. Next, grab 2 of your beige cords and we're going to fold one in half and then tie a loose overhand knot right at the end. This is also a temporary overhand knot, so don't worry about it too much. Next, get your wooden beads out and you want to grab the largest one and slide it through your cord that has the overhand knot. And I know you're going to ask me where I got my wooden beads from, so I'll leave a link in the description box for you. With your second beige cord, you want to thread that through the loop and make sure that it's centered, and tie just a regular overhand knot right in the middle. This knot should be hidden inside of your wooden bead, so pull your center cord through just a tad bit. With the side that has the knot, you want that facing upwards. And I'm going to tack it down onto my board, but you can also use tape. And with the two strands that are at the top, we're going to tie a square knot right at the base of our wooden bead. As you're tying this knot, you want to make sure that it is fairly taut. We don't want anything wobbling or moving around on us. Speaking of which, these wooden beads are in my way, so I'm just going to move them over for now. And as I said, make sure that everything is taut. Alright, so we're going to grab our middle bead and we're going to thread that right through our center cords here that have the overhand knot at the end. And again, with our top two cords here, we're going to tie another square knot right at the base of our center bead. Next, grab our smallest bead and thread our cords through the middle of that. And then, of course, we're going to tie another square knot. And once you have your square knot on there, this is a perfect time to make sure that everything is taut and snug. If it happens to be loose, the best way to make it taut is to pull the two middle cords really well. Okay, now you want to snip off the two outside cords, leaving a little bit of a tail. And you guessed it, we're also going to use our lighter and we're going to melt that down. And you want to make sure that it's really melted down onto itself so that it's secure and not going anywhere. Next, untie that overhand knot at the top here and thread your two cords through a tapestry needle so that we can attach the hat. Go right up through the bottom through to the center top of your hat, sliding it down onto the top of your snowman. Now you can totally leave your snowman as is, however, it is really fun to dress him up a little bit. For this snowman, I used some ribbon that I purchased at my local dollar store, and all I did was wrap it around and then used my hot glue gun to attach it. And for his little red button that I have on here, all I used was a scrap of yarn. And what I did was just tie a regular overhand knot. I snipped off all the excess sides of my yarn, and then I just glued it down on top of my snowman. However, for my second snowman, I thought I'd do something a little bit different and actually macrame him a scarf. So I'm grabbing 4 strands of yarn and I'm going to tie an overhand knot right at the top here. And I'm just going to do a series of square knots all the way down. Then I'm going to finish it off by tying another overhand knot and then trimming the ends. This is an excellent way to use up scrap pieces of yarn, rope, or fabric. And just like my other snowman, I'm going to attach it using a little bit of hot glue. I like to fold one side over first and then cross it over on the other side. And then while I'm at it, I like to also glue down his hat. But when you're gluing down his hat, make sure that you're not using too much and it's around your center cord. Otherwise, your hot glue will come right up through the top. And then with the center cords, what you want to do is tie a very secure overhand knot right at the point at which you want it to hang. So I tied mine about, I think it's about 3 inches above the top of his hat. And if you feel inclined, you can totally go ahead and draw on a face. I attempted to draw one on one of mine and it ended very poorly. So I'm gonna leave mine at that. Plus, I kind of like the minimal look anyways. If you enjoyed my little macrame snowman pattern, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Your support is always very greatly appreciated. And if you happen to give this pattern a try, I would love to see it, so feel free to tag me on Instagram. And I'll see you in the next one.